Have you ever felt a tremor beneath the surface of your everyday awareness? A fleeting sensation, perhaps in a moment of quiet solitude, or during a particularly vivid dream, that there's more to you, vastly more, than the person you consciously know yourself to be. More than the thoughts you articulate, the roles you play, the carefully constructed identity you present to the world. What if I told you that this feeling isn't mere fancy, but an echo from a reality within you as vast and unexplored as any continent on Earth? A realm teeming with hidden landscapes, potent energies, forgotten histories, and unimaginable potential. The realm Carl Jung, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist, dedicated his life to mapping the unconscious. It's a territory often shrouded in fear, dismissed by our rational minds, yet it holds the very keys to understanding your deepest motivations, healing your oldest wounds, unlocking your dormant creativity, and ultimately, embarking on the profound journey of becoming who you were truly meant to be. We spend most of our waking lives navigating by the familiar landmarks of our conscious mind, the ego. We identify strongly with our thoughts, our beliefs, our job titles, our relationships, the carefully curated facade, the persona we meticulously maintain. We confidently declare, "This is me. I know who I am." But Jung offered a perspective that shatters this comfortable illusion. He proposed that our conscious ego, this I we hold so dear, but a small, fragile island adrift on the surface of an immense, dynamic psychic ocean. Below the sunlit waves lies the unconscious, a living, breathing reality that exerts a profound and constant influence on everything we think, feel, and do. It shapes our moods in ways we don't understand, dictates our attractions and repulsions, fuels our inexplicable passions and paralyzing fears, scripts our recurring dreams, and even impacts our physical health. Jung's vision transcended earlier ideas of the unconscious as a mere repository for forgotten junk. He saw it as the very source, the fertile matrix from which our conscious life springs, the wellspring of our vitality, our symbolic life, our connection to the numinous, the sacred, the transcendent. Are you prepared to entertain the possibility that the self you consciously recognize is merely the prologue to your own, much grander story? Jung meticulously charted this inner world, distinguishing between two fundamental layers. Closer to the surface lies the personal unconscious. This layer aligns somewhat with earlier psychoanalytic ideas, acting as a reservoir for all the experiences, thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that have been pushed out of conscious awareness. Think of it as the psyche's vast archive, containing everything you've ever lived through but aren't currently thinking about, memories faded by time, emotions repressed because they were too painful or socially unacceptable, like envy, rage, or deep grief, subliminal perceptions registered below the threshold of awareness, undeveloped talents or potentials that were discouraged or dismissed early in life. It holds the sting of childhood embarrassments you thought long buried, the simmering resentment beneath a forced smile at a family gathering, the flicker of an artistic passion you abandoned decades ago because someone told you it wasn't practical. This layer is intensely personal, unique to your individual biography, shaped by the specific contours of your life journey. It's the accumulated baggage, the psychic debris, but also the unmined resources that each of us carries, often completely unaware of its weight or its wealth. Have you ever found yourself reacting to a minor slight with volcanic fury, or feeling an inexplicable wave of sadness wash over you on a perfectly ordinary day? Have you ever felt an instant, magnetic pull towards a stranger, or an equally irrational aversion? These are often the tremors from your personal unconscious, subterranean fault lines activated by present circumstances, echoing unresolved issues and unacknowledged feelings from your past. Recognizing these moments, not as random glitches but as signals from below, is the first step toward exploring this layer. But Jung's genius lay in his courage to venture even deeper, beyond the merely personal, into a stratum of the psyche that connects us all. He discovered evidence for what he termed the collective unconscious. This is the deepest, most foundational layer, and it's not derived from our individual experiences. Instead, Jung proposed it as an innate, inherited psychic foundation shared by all human beings, simply by virtue of being human. It's the psychic equivalent of our shared biological inheritance, just as we inherit physical structures like hearts and lungs. Jung believed we inherit fundamental psychic structures, patterns of perceiving and responding to the world that have been laid down over countless millennia of human experience. Imagine it as a vast subterranean library containing the accumulated wisdom, fears, myths, and symbols of our ancestors. It's the primordial bedrock upon which our individual psyches are built. This concept, while perhaps Jung's most radical and debated, is also what gives his psychology its profound depth and universal resonance. It suggests that beneath the surface of our cultural and individual differences, we are fundamentally connected at a level that transcends time and space. We share a common psychic language, a universal grammar of the soul, which expresses itself most powerfully through the recurring motifs, symbols, and narratives found in myths, religions, fairy tales, art, and dreams across every culture known to history. Tales of the hero's journey, the great mother, the wise old man, the battle between light and dark. This undiscovered continent within you isn't just your private inner world, it's a living connection to the entire epic of human consciousness. Your personal struggles and triumphs resonate with universal themes played out since the dawn of time. How does this profound shared layer make itself known? How does the collective unconscious influence our lives? It manifests primarily through what Jung called archetypes. He described archetypes not as specific, inherited images or ideas, but as innate, universal patterns or predispositions that structure our perception, organize our experience, and shape our behavior. They are like the invisible riverbeds that channel the flow of psychic energy, or fundamental psychic organs that automatically process certain kinds of information. They are potentialities, empty forms, which are then filled in by the specific content of our individual and cultural experiences. When these underlying archetypal patterns are activated by significant life events, falling in love, facing death, seeking power, experiencing betrayal, striving for meaning, they give rise to the potent, emotionally charged images, symbols, narratives, and figures that populate our dreams, fantasies, myths, and religious experiences. These images resonate so deeply within us precisely because they touch upon these shared fundamental structures of the human psyche. They speak a language older than words, a language our souls inherently understand. Let's venture deeper into this inner landscape and meet some of the key archetypal figures that Jung identified as crucial players in our psychological drama. One of the most prominent, and the one we interact with most consciously, is the persona. Derived from the Latin word for an actor's mask, the persona is the interface between our individual ego and the external social world. It's the collection of roles we play, the carefully constructed image we present to others to navigate society effectively and gain acceptance. We adopt different personas for different situations: the competent professional at work, the dutiful child with parents, the supportive friend, the rebellious teenager. A well-functioning persona is essential for social adaptation. It allows us to interact smoothly and predictably. However, a grave danger arises when we mistake the mask for our true face. When we become excessively identified with our persona, this is what Jung called persona identification. We start believing we are the role we play: the successful CEO, the perfect mother, the detached intellectual, the life of the party. When this happens, we lose touch with our authentic feelings, needs, and values that don't fit the curated image. Our lives become performances, driven by a need for external validation rather than inner truth. We might feel increasingly hollow, disconnected, or exhausted from the constant effort of maintaining the facade. Ask yourself, with radical honesty, which masks do you wear most often? How much of your energy goes into polishing and presenting them? What parts of your genuine self, your vulnerabilities, your unconventional thoughts, your deeper passions get suppressed or hidden behind these roles? Becoming aware of your persona, understanding its function but refusing to be solely defined by it, is a critical step towards authenticity. It's about learning to wear the mask consciously, without letting it possess you. Lurking behind the socially acceptable persona, often in direct opposition to it, lies the archetype Jung considered absolutely essential for achieving self-awareness and psychological wholeness, the shadow. This is the archetype of the dark side of our personality, the psychic container for everything we deny, reject, repress, and disown about ourselves. It holds all the traits and impulses we deem unacceptable, inferior, or downright evil. Our selfishness, our greed, our envy, our aggression, our laziness, our irrational fears, our primitive instincts. It encompasses everything that clashes with our conscious self-image and the ideals promoted by our persona and society. Because we find these aspects so threatening or shameful, we tend to push them deep into the unconscious, pretending they don't exist. However, repression doesn't eliminate the shadow. It merely renders it unconscious, where it gains power and autonomy. One of the most common ways the shadow exerts its influence is through projection. We unconsciously attribute our own disowned shadow qualities onto other people or groups. The traits we most vehemently condemn in others, the arrogance, the dishonesty, the judgmentalism, are often reflections of our own unacknowledged darkness. Think about the individuals or groups that provoke the strongest, most visceral negative reactions in you. What specific qualities trigger this intense response? Could it be that you are seeing your own rejected shadow mirrored back at you? This mechanism fuels prejudice, scapegoating, interpersonal conflict, and even large-scale violence. But Jung stressed that the shadow is not purely negative or evil. Crucially, it also contains positive qualities, undeveloped potentials, hidden talents, creativity, vitality, and authentic aspects of ourselves that were perhaps disapproved of by our families or culture early in life, and were therefore relegated to the darkness. This is the gold in the shadow. Maybe your assertiveness was labeled as bossy, your sensitivity as weak, your creativity as impractical. These valuable parts might now reside in your shadow. Embracing the shadow, therefore, is not about succumbing to our worst impulses. It's about the courageous and often painful process of integrating these disowned parts, acknowledging their existence within us, understanding their origins and messages, and consciously choosing how to channel their energy constructively. It requires humility, self-compassion, and a willingness to look unflinchingly at the totality of who we are, warts and all. Confronting and integrating the shadow is arguably the most challenging aspect of the inner journey, the true descent into the underworld. But it is indispensable for reclaiming our wholeness, depth, and power. Are you willing to turn and face what you've banished to the dark? Jung also illuminated the interplay of masculine and feminine energies within the psyche of every individual, regardless of biological sex, through the archetypes of the Anima and Animus. The Anima represents the unconscious feminine principle within a man. It's shaped initially by his relationship with his mother and other significant female figures, but it also draws upon the collective, archetypal images of the feminine passed down through culture and history, for example, mother, maiden, seductress, wise woman. The Anima governs a man's capacity for relatedness, his emotional life, his intuition, his connection to the inner world, and his creativity. When the Anima is unconscious or poorly integrated, it can manifest negatively, projecting unrealistic ideals onto women, leading to moodiness, possessiveness, emotional volatility, or a crippling dependence. A man might be possessed by his Anima, acting irrationally or sentimentally, however consciously engaging with and integrating the anima allows a man to access his deeper feelings, develop empathy, connect with his soul, and foster meaningful relationships. Conversely, the animus represents the unconscious masculine principle within a woman, shaped initially by her relationship with her father and other significant male figures. It also draws on collective images of the masculine. For example, hero, father, wise man, trickster. The animus influences a woman's thinking processes, her assertiveness, her ability to act decisively in the world, her connection to meaning logos, and her capacity for focused consciousness. An unconscious or negatively charged animus can manifest as rigid opinions, argumentative tendencies, destructive criticism, or an inability to connect with her own inner authority. A woman might be possessed by her animus, becoming overly dogmatic or aggressive. Consciously integrating the animus, however, empowers a woman with clarity of thought, courage, inner strength, objective judgment, and the ability to bring her creative insights into fruition in the world. Understanding your anima or animus involves examining your relationship patterns, particularly the qualities you project onto partners, both idealizing and devaluing projections, exploring the balance of receptive yin and assertive yang energies within yourself, and engaging with the inner figures that appear in your dreams and fantasies. This integration leads to what Jungians sometimes call the inner marriage, a harmonious balance and collaboration between the masculine and feminine poles of the psyche, fostering greater wholeness and maturity. At the very core of this vast inner continent, representing the ultimate goal and guiding principle of the entire psychological journey, lies the archetype of the self. For Jung, the self is the archetype of wholeness, the totality of the psyche, encompassing both the conscious ego and the entirety of the unconscious personal and collective. It is the supreme organizing principle, the regulating center that strives constantly for balance, integration, and completion. While the ego is the center of our conscious awareness, the self is the center of our total personality. Jung often used symbols like the mandala, a circular figure, often with a central point and symmetrical divisions, the circle, the square, the divine child, or figures representing paradoxical unity, like the hermaphrodite, to represent the self, embodying integration, order, and the reconciliation of opposites. Achieving a conscious relationship with the self is the ultimate aim of the lifelong process, Jung termed individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming a unique, whole, psychologically distinct individual, separate from the undifferentiated collective consciousness, while simultaneously remaining deeply connected to humanity and the cosmos. It's not about achieving perfection in the conventional sense, nor is it about narcissistic self-inflation. Rather, it's about becoming fully and authentically yourself, integrating all the disparate parts of your personality, including the persona, the shadow, the anima, animus, and aligning your conscious ego with the deeper wisdom and guidance of the self. This journey involves confronting unconscious material, differentiating your true values from societal pressures, taking responsibility for your life, and ultimately, living in accordance with your unique potential and purpose. The exploration of the unconscious, therefore, isn't just a psychological curiosity. It's the sacred pilgrimage towards discovering and embodying the self, the divine spark, the indestructible core of your being. Given that this vast, potent unconscious realm exists within each of us, how do we begin to access it? How can we learn its language and navigate its often bewildering landscapes? The unconscious, Jung taught, doesn't communicate through the linear logic and precise definitions of the conscious mind. Its native tongue is the language of symbols, images, metaphors, myths, feelings, and intuition. It speaks to us constantly, if only we learn how to listen. One of the most direct and universally accessible channels is through our dreams. Jung considered dreams the royal road to the unconscious, viewing them not merely as random neural firings or simple wish fulfillments, as Freud emphasized, but as purposeful, intelligent communications from the deeper psyche. Dreams, he believed, serve a crucial compensatory function. They bring to light aspects of ourselves or our situation that are being ignored, neglected, or repressed by our conscious attitude. If our conscious life is overly materialistic, our dreams might be filled with spiritual or numinous imagery. If we are denying our anger, we might dream of raging fires or attacking beasts. If we are inflated with ego, we might dream of falling. Dreams offer invaluable insights into our inner state, provide warnings, suggest new perspectives, and guide the process of integration. Learning to work with dreams involves more than just remembering them. It requires cultivating a relationship with them. Keep a dream journal by your bed. Record your dreams immediately upon waking. Even fragments, feelings, or single images are valuable. Reflect on the symbols and narrative, but avoid rigid one-size-fits-all interpretations from dream dictionaries. Instead, explore your personal associations with the dream images. What do they mean to you? What feelings do they evoke? How might they relate to your current life situation or inner conflicts? Jung developed a method called amplification, which involves exploring the wider cultural and mythological parallels of dream symbols to uncover their deeper archetypal layers of meaning. Engaging with your dreams consistently can open a profound dialogue with your unconscious wisdom. What recurring dreams haunt or inspire you? What powerful images linger long after waking? They are messages waiting to be deciphered. Another fascinating way the unconscious pierces the veil of ordinary reality is through synchronicity. This term, coined by Jung, refers to meaningful coincidences, events occurring in the external world that seem meaningfully, though not causally, connected to one's inner psychological state, thoughts, feelings, dreams. It's that uncanny experience of thinking intently about a long-lost friend, only to have them call you out of the blue moments later. It's struggling with a specific problem and then having the solution seemingly appear through a chance encounter, a book falling open to the right page, or a recurring symbol showing up unexpectedly in your environment. Jung differentiated these from mere chance by the profound sense of meaning and luminosity they often carry for the individual experiencing them. He theorized that synchronicities point towards an underlying order in the universe and a causal connecting principle where mind and matter, inner and outer worlds, are not entirely separate but participate in a unified field. Paying attention to synchronicities requires cultivating a mindful awareness of both your inner landscape and the subtle occurrences in your outer life, noticing the resonances and patterns that often go dismissed by our hyper-rational culture. These moments can feel like reassuring nods from the universe, confirmations that you're aligned with a deeper current, or pointed signals, drawing your attention towards something crucial for your individuation journey. Have you experienced such moments? Did you brush them off as mere coincidence? Or did you allow yourself to feel the wonder and ponder the potential significance? The unconscious also makes itself known, often uncomfortably through projections. As we discussed in relation to the shadow, projection is the unconscious process of attributing our own unacknowledged qualities, feelings, or thoughts onto other people or situations. It's like seeing a distorted reflection of our inner world on the screen of the outer world. When you find yourself having an immediate, intense, and often irrational emotional reaction to someone, whether it's overwhelming infatuation and idealization, they're perfect, or intense dislike, judgment, and irritation, I can't stand them, it's highly likely that projection is at play. You are seeing a disowned part of your own psyche, perhaps your unlived potential in infatuation or your rejected shadow in repulsion, embodied in the other person. Recognizing your projections is a crucial, albeit humbling, step towards self-awareness and reclaiming psychological energy. Instead of remaining caught in blaming, judging, or idealizing the external object, the work is to withdraw the projection. This involves asking courageous questions. What is it in me that this person or situation is activating so strongly? What quality am I seeing out there that actually resides unacknowledged within my own psyche? This doesn't absolve others of their behavior, but it shifts the locus of control back to your own inner work. It allows you to take back the psychic energy you've unconsciously outsourced and integrate that part of yourself more consciously. Where in your current relationships or social interactions might you be projecting your own inner contents? Retrieving these projections is like gathering scattered fragments of your soul. Furthermore, the personal unconscious is often organized around complexes. Jung defined complexes as emotionally charged clusters of associated ideas, memories, feelings, and images that have accumulated around a particular archetypal core, usually stemming from significant, often early, life experiences, sometimes traumatic ones. They are like psychic knots, energy vortices, or splinter psyches within the larger personality. Common examples include the mother complex, father complex, inferiority complex, power complex, or hero complex. These complexes operate with a degree of autonomy, influencing our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and behaviors whenever they are triggered by relevant situations. They often lie dormant until a specific event activates their emotional charge, leading to disproportionate reactions, repetitive patterns of behavior, and feeling stuck. For instance, someone with an unacknowledged father complex might constantly seek approval from authority figures or rebel excessively against them, unconsciously replaying dynamics from their childhood relationship with their father. Identifying your core complexes involves noticing your recurring emotional triggers, your sensitive sore spots, the repetitive dramas you find yourself caught in, and the themes that persistently emerge in your dreams and fantasies. Understanding the origins and dynamics of your complexes, acknowledging the emotions they carry, and consciously integrating the energy bound up within them is a major part of psychological healing and achieving greater inner freedom. It's about dissolving those knots so your psychic energy can flow more freely. What recurring patterns or intense triggers in your life might point towards an underlying complex demanding your attention? Embarking on this exploration of the inner continent, this dialogue with the unconscious, is far more than an intellectual pastime. It is, according to Jung, a vital necessity for a truly meaningful and psychologically healthy life. To ignore the unconscious is not to neutralize it. It is simply to remain ignorant of the powerful forces shaping our destiny from below. When we live disconnected from these deeper psychic roots, we become susceptible to being controlled by them. We might find ourselves inexplicably sabotaging our relationships, trapped in unfulfilling careers that echo old parental expectations, plagued by chronic anxiety, depression, or psychosomatic illnesses that have no clear physical cause, or compulsively acting out destructive behaviors. The unlived life of the unconscious, the repressed emotions, the denied shadow aspects, the ignored call of the self, can fester, creating neurosis, stagnation, and a profound sense of alienation from oneself and the world. Jung went further, suggesting that widespread unconsciousness and projection are at the root of many collective societal ills, from prejudice and scapegoating to war and environmental destruction. The fate of the individual psyche, he believed, is intimately intertwined with the fate of the collective. Conversely, the rewards of consciously engaging with the unconscious, of undertaking the demanding yet ultimately liberating journey of individuation, are immense. It leads first and foremost to greater self-knowledge, a deeper, more nuanced, and more compassionate understanding of the totality of who you are. By courageously confronting and integrating the shadow, we reclaim the vital energy and hidden potentials locked within it. Becoming more grounded, authentic, and resilient, we develop psychological weight and depth. By understanding and integrating our anima or animus, we cultivate more conscious, balanced, and fulfilling relationships, both internally and externally. We bridge the gap between thinking and feeling, action and receptivity. By establishing a conscious connection with the guiding wisdom of the self, we discover a durable sense of meaning, purpose, and direction that transcends the ego's narrow concerns. We find an inner compass, a source of resilience that can navigate the inevitable storms of life. Exploring the unconscious unlocks reservoirs of creativity, enhances intuition, and fosters profound personal transformation. It allows us to move from being reactive puppets, dancing on the strings of unseen complexes and projections, to becoming conscious co-creators of our own lives, responding to challenges with greater awareness, freedom, and integrity. It is the path toward becoming not just a well-adjusted cog in the societal machine, but a unique, differentiated, and fully alive individual, deeply rooted in the fertile soil of your own soul. So how does one practically begin this profound, lifelong exploration? It's crucial to understand that this is indeed a journey, not a quick fix or a destination to be reached definitively. It requires patience, courage, humility, commitment, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty and paradox. The first and most crucial step is simply to pay attention. Cultivate a quality of mindful awareness towards your inner world. Start noticing your dreams, your moods, your fantasies, your gut feelings, your slips of the tongue, your seemingly irrational reactions. Keep a dream journal. As emphasized earlier, this is paramount. Keep a notebook and pen by your bed. Upon waking, before your rational mind fully engages, jot down anything you remember: images, feelings, dialogues, fragments. Don't censor or interpret immediately. Just capture the raw material. Review your journal periodically, looking for recurring themes, symbols, or emotional patterns. Ask yourself, what might my unconscious be trying to compensate for or bring to my attention? Practice consistent self-reflection. Dedicate regular time, even just 10-15 minutes a day, for introspection. Journaling can be incredibly powerful here. Write about your feelings, especially strong or puzzling ones. Explore your reactions to events and people. Ask yourself why you felt or acted a certain way. Trace patterns. Notice your projections. When you feel intense admiration or condemnation towards someone, turn the lens inward. What quality are they mirroring for you? What sensitive spots or complex indicators get triggered in your daily life? Engage actively with symbols. The unconscious speaks the language of symbols. Pay attention to the symbols that resonate deeply with you, whether they appear in your dreams, fantasies, art, myths, or even synchronistic events in the outer world. Explore their personal meaning and emotional charge for you. Don't just rely on external definitions. You might try drawing, painting, or sculpting dream images or figures that feel significant. Jung also developed active imagination, a powerful technique for consciously engaging in a dialogue with figures or images emerging from the unconscious. This typically involves entering a relaxed state, focusing on an image or feeling, and allowing it to unfold dynamically while consciously interacting with it. Perhaps through writing, visualization, or even movement. It's a way to directly encounter and integrate unconscious contents, often best learned with guidance from a trained therapist. Cultivate receptivity to synchronicity. Instead of dismissing meaningful coincidences as mere chance, adopt an attitude of curious openness. Note them down. Reflect on your inner state at the time they occurred. What theme or question was preoccupying you? Allow for the possibility that these events carry a message or point towards a deeper layer of reality, where inner and outer are interconnected. Consider professional guidance. The journey into the unconscious can be challenging and sometimes overwhelming. Working with a qualified Jungian analyst or a therapist trained in depth psychology can provide invaluable support, containment, and expertise. A therapist can help you navigate difficult material like the shadow, understand the complex symbolism of your dreams, identify your core complexes, and hold a safe space for the often vulnerable process of integration. They act as a skilled guide through the sometimes treacherous inner terrain. Embrace creative expression. The unconscious often bypasses the logical mind and expresses itself more freely through non-verbal channels. Engaging in creative activities, painting, drawing, sculpting, playing music, dancing, writing poetry or fiction, without focusing on the end product or external judgment, can be a powerful way to allow unconscious material to surface, be processed, and integrated. Let your hands, your body, your imagination speak the language of your soul. This exploration demands a fundamental shift in attitude, a move away from the dominance of the purely rational, analytical ego towards an embrace of intuition, feeling, symbolic perception, and the wisdom held in the body and the imagination. It requires the courage to sit with ambiguity, to tolerate paradox, to face discomfort without immediately seeking escape. It means mustering the profound bravery needed to look into the mirror of the psyche and acknowledge all that resides there, the light and the dark, the beautiful and the terrifying, the personal and the archetypal. It is not a path for the faint of heart, but it is the path toward becoming truly human, truly whole. The undiscovered continent within you is not some distant alien land. It is the very ground of your being, the source of your life force, the matrix of your potential. It holds landscapes of unimaginable beauty, alongside regions of stark desolation. It echoes with the whispers of your personal history and resonates with the thunderous drums of our collective human saga. Carl Jung provided us with invaluable maps, compasses, and linguistic tools to begin charting this territory. Yet, the expedition itself, the courageous voyage into the depths of your own psyche, is a journey only you can undertake. It is the singular, sacred adventure of individuation, the lifelong quest to discover, integrate, and ultimately embody the totality of who you are, the magnificent, complex, paradoxical reality of the self. Are you content to live out your days confined to the familiar shores of your conscious ego, forever tossed about by the unseen currents and storms originating from the vast, unconscious ocean within? Or do you feel the call, however faint, to build a vessel sturdy enough for deep waters, to hoist the sails of awareness, and to embark on the exploration of that immense, undiscovered continent that is your own true nature? What forgotten treasures, what formidable challenges, what possibilities for profound transformation lie waiting in those uncharted depths? The potential for a life imbued with richer meaning, deeper connection, greater authenticity, and unshakable resilience lies dormant within that unexplored psychic territory. The call to adventure, the most important adventure you will ever undertake, is sounding not from some external herald, but from the very core of your own being. So, I invite you once more, pause for a moment, tune out the external noise and listen intently to the inner world. What regions of your inner continent are currently clamoring for attention? Is it the insistent whisper of a recurring dream, the sharp sting of a projection onto someone else, the heavy presence of an unacknowledged shadow quality, the quiet yearning for a deeper sense of purpose emanating from the self? What messages are bubbling up from the depths right now, asking to be heard, acknowledged, integrated? I genuinely encourage you to share your reflections, your experiences with navigating this inner world, perhaps a significant dream, a startling synchronicity, a struggle with a particular shadow aspect, or a moment of connection to something larger, in the comments below. Let this space be a shared forum for fellow explorers, charting these profound inner territories. And if this exploration into the depths of the psyche resonates with you, if you feel compelled to continue this journey of self-discovery and understanding, consider subscribing. There are countless more landscapes within the human soul and within the wider world that await our conscious engagement. Remember, as Jung might remind us, the greatest, most meaningful adventure doesn't lie in conquering external peaks, but in discovering the vast, undiscovered continent within. Are you ready to truly begin the expedition?